gotta change the name.
Change your name, Mallory. Merci.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we should record it.
Okay. Is it like slam poetry? Like, what is it?
Don't call it that though.
Yeah, like here's the thing. I can't control the way that my creative forces come out of me. And I would prefer that it didn't come out in like a poetry sort of form because I'm not really a poetry person.
Why? Yes, you are.
What?
I just have heard like more not so great poetry than like good poetry, you know? Like that's not my preferred way to like consume writing. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't understand why my writing has a cadence to it when it could just, you know, do you know what I'm saying?
I think it's because it helps the listener it helps with consuming the feeling that you're trying to.
Yeah, that's true. I just feel like I don't intentionally set out to make like a poem like that.
I would describe you as a poet, though.
I would too.
That's very kind.
That's a compliment.
I can be a cool poet.
Even though there's bad poetry out there, your poetry is hot fire flames.
I think
like there are bad plumbers out there, and Laura can still be a plumber.
And here we are. And I'm one of the really good ones.
The plumber situation is never going to end. It's forever.
Yeah.
It's just the best story we're going to tell.
The content is there for the dads only.
Yeah.
Dad's
honestly,
only content.
Most men I've talked to about it have been like, had a lot of follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Pretty
Maybe we should start like a new pod called Only Dads, and we only have like dad content. But like we're the experts and dads want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. No, I think because of the poetry situation, the only 2 times I've been to any sort of poetry, like formal poetry event, it made my skin crawl.
Yes.
And that's because one time it was unintentional and I was just working away at a coffee shop and then it turned into a performance art piece, which I want to be so clear. I support the arts. I really do.
Just not this one.
But just if you knew me 4 years ago, you know that I couldn't even be in an intimate concert. Otherwise, my body was so nervous in those settings. So being put into a performance art piece where then people from the audience were then coming up to perform because it was all part of the performance really scarred me.
But to be so clear, we support the arts.
We support the arts 100%.
And we support plumbers.
Just
again to reiterate.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should do a quick intro and then I think McKenna should read
take it
her
away.
Performance piece.
Okay. Let's reintroduce ourselves. We haven't done that in a couple pods. We're getting a little bit, too comfortable.
Yeah. Wait, do you mean our names or more than that?
No, our names.
I feel like we do it every time.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, if you're listening, I'm McKenna.
Oh, also, wait. Sorry. No, but we did get feedback that our voices sound the same. So McKenna is the one with dark hair if you're watching. She talks a lot about, well, I talk about Douglas as well. What else do you talk a lot about you were talking about finances last.
She sounds really wise.
She's very wise, very articulate. Laura I'm Laura, and I talk about plumbing
and tattooing.
And tattooing.
And
Douglas, and I talk about what else? That's it, you guys.
And Mallory is Professor Mallory. And Mallory, let everyone hear your voice.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi.
Mallory talks about her puppy Fitz. She talks about Ryan. She talks about being Professor Mallory.
Do I talk about being Professor Mallory?
Yes. And she genuinely.
I don't know what you're trying to say. So.
I don't either. She just like educates. She's our educator. She educates us.
Yeah.
She puts us, in a great state of mind to learn things.
Yeah, that's us.
Guys, can I tell you about a moment, really like a weird feeling I'm having in my head?
Always.
Okay, I was just about to tell you guys a story and describe it as something that really happened, but now I can't remember if it was a dream or if it really happened. And I'm like sitting here like I literally couldn't tell. Like I don't remember if
You're
this moment
lost in your dream space. Can you tell us and we can tell you if it was a dream or real?
well, you wouldn't have been there. But like in my in this situation that I was going to tell you, I was in an environment yesterday, so either in my dream or in real life, where I was introducing myself and I said, "Welcome to," and then someone made a joke like "fuck well," like that it was about the podcast, and I was like, "Ha, like only a few people would get that," and then I was like laughing about it. And I actually can't remember if that moment happened in my dream or in real life.
Whoa. What if this is a dream?
Stop it.
I'm nauseous. Wow. Like when would that have happened?
Yeah, Mal, can you phone a friend to check in and see if it was real?
What was the setting? Work?
No, I was like, I was like presenting to a group.
Did you present yesterday?
She doesn't know.
I mean, I
nervous.
present every day, you know? I don't know. I think it was not real, but it feels so real.
Wow.
Anyway, okay, we can move on. I'm kind of shook.
Those sort of situations always leave me in limbo for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm ready for the writing.
Batter up.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Do you want me to talk about my thing first and then you go? Or do you want to just read?
No, Laura has news.
Okay. I have news. I have news and then I have a story. And Mal, you've heard the story, but you don't know the news. The news is that I'm a Trader Joe's girly.
Oh, so okay, you're gonna tell a story now?
Yeah. So
Okay.
basically, I have been applying to lots of jobs. It's kind of getting down to the wire. So I went to our neighborhood TJ's and put in an application, even though if you're ever looking to apply to a Trader Joe's, and I've seen this now online, that you have to go in person and do an in-person app because I got immediately rejected online. And I was like, whoa, like that, it was so immediate as well. And I've heard from like people on Reddit that like that is typically how it goes. Like if you're applying to just be a crew member at a TJ's, like go in person, do a paper application. So I did that. I got an interview earlier this week, and then I had my second interview today, and they hired me in the interview. And I start next week after Thanksgiving, which is kind of a big relief because Thanksgiving is like the busiest time for Trader Joe's.
Someone also told us that this is the third busiest Trader Joe's in the country.
Yeah. Is the Trader Joe's that I'm going to work.
Laura.
Yeah.
I know.
Wait, can I look it up? Wait, do you don't have to tell me exactly where it is?
I mean,
and our address
is it close to your neighborhood?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll hopefully be biking to work when I find a bike.
Let's contact Big Dave. He can help us with that.
Yeah.
Okay, continue talking. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, so that is my news is that I'm finally employed. My second story based off of this whole thing is that on my first interview for the job, it was a really, really like chill environment in the interview. It was just like me and two other people. And I just went in and they were asking me questions about my life and asking me questions about my work experience. And I was asked a question kind of about like the previous people that I work with and like hard situations in that job. And I got unexpectedly super, super emotional in the interview because I was talking about one of my old coworkers who I just like so admire and miss and like appreciate her so much. And I literally started crying in my job interview, and I felt very, very, very embarrassed by that, because I was like, this is a workplace setting. This is not where you show emotions like that. Like I it was like, it was totally fine. And I think that I just maybe felt like made the interviewer feel a little bit bad, which I was like, do not feel bad about this at all. Like these emotions are kind of expected given my last job. Like don't freak out about it at all. I just really love this person. And yeah, I don't know. I just like got really in my head after the interview being like, they're going to think I was too emotional. They're going to like not reach out to me because they're going to think I just cry all the time. Like da 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 da. And I do cry all the time, but like, I was just worried it was going to like hurt my chances of getting a job. And I think it was just I think it was just interesting because like, maybe it's the situations that I've been in at previous jobs where like emotions like that, maybe also because I was raised as being a woman who is always like too scared to be too emotional because then you'll be labeled as such. Like I just felt weird amounts of shame after that.
Did they bring it up in your second interview?
No,
No.
not at all.
I thought they might say something like, thank you for your vulnerability in the first episode.
No, it was with different people in my second interview, like higher ups. Yeah.
I think I totally understand like where that shame comes from. And I think I would feel something very similar, but I feel like I'm struggling to like find reasonable points as to why that would be like quote unprofessional, you know, or like not feel welcome. Cause I feel like if it's anger or if it's yelling or if it's another form of emotion, it's like, yeah, that's just not, you wouldn't want to bring that to any sort of environment really in an unhealthy way. But to me, like crying is just a natural release of emotion.
Yeah, totally. And I also think I was not only kind of embarrassed by the crying, but I also, the way that my body is wired is that when I start crying, I also start sweating a lot. So I was kind of like, this is not so good, because I got really, really, really like teary-eyed.
Wet in the eyes, wet everywhere else.
Wet, like literally dripping out the armpits. So yeah, it was it all ended great, and now I have a job, which is awesome, but was a little worried there for a sec.
I just feel like there's a big societal grappling with professionalism and like the root of professionalism. Like we've talked a lot about that in my workplace about dress code and how like why do we need to wear business casual or even business professional? Like we're working with students. They find it weird if we show up to a meeting in like a pantsuit, you know, they're like,
oh, literally.
They're like, I just need you to like pay for a new computer for me, you know? And so it's been really, really interesting. Kind of thinking about where our norms of professionalism come from. And
yeah.
I feel like that's a great example. Like if someone cried in an interview with me, as long as it wasn't like, you know, I don't know. So like, while I don't know, I feel like there are situations where they were like crying about like a squished tomato or something where I'd be like, well, I don't know about that. But, you know, anyway, I think it would be a good thing generally, like a green flag.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been around men who will die on the hill of professional dress and like all these weird professional things. But
because the rules were made for them.
No, yes. But like, yeah, when you ask them why, they like don't have an answer. And it's like, okay, well then, I don't know. It's irritating. And also I just have a personal vendetta against people who are raising children to be like, turn your tears off or like, ooh, go to the other room and come back when you're done crying, or I'm not going to talk to you if you're crying. Like, definitely don't understand that from personal experience at all. But it's just, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. Ryan and I always debate the professionalism thing, especially with like outfits and the like he thinks it's really important for young people to learn how to like dress professionally. And I guess I see the importance of people understanding maybe, but not necessarily feeling like they're like understanding the societal norms so that they can like make the most of it for them in the environments they need to be in, but not feeling like they have to be a part of it if they don't feel like they want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I actually just had a weird flashback. Do you
Yeah,
remember?
your face was looking kind of weird for a second.
Because I was in a different world. I was
Yeah,
back
no,
in
I
high
literally
school.
saw your face and I was like, something's up.
Do you remember in high school, Dress for Success Day?
Yeah.
So Davis Senior High School did this thing all the years that I went there, all the years that my brother went there, big thing called Dress for Success Day. And you basically like dressed for success, which I guess like could have been interpreted in any kind of way, but it was primarily interpreted as like dress business casual or business formal to school. And it's like, awesome. Yeah. Did I love having an opportunity to wear a pencil skirt to school? Yeah. Do I still freaking love blazers? Yes. But like, it was kind of out of control how many people were like, that is success. Like having a suit on or like a blazer and a teeny weeny skirt is like, that is success. When like,
What if you wanted to be a plumber? What would you have worn?
I literally was just about to say, and I don't even mean that in like a joking way. Like, what if I actually wanted to like work a job like that and everyone around me is like, actually, success is a button down shirt and waking up at 6 a.m. and not showing emotions.
I also think that it's always frustrated me. This is obviously like a bit, well, how do I want to say this? Just I feel like there are so many norms around like women's professional attire and like wearing makeup, doing your hair, like whereas for men it feels, I think Ryan would probably disagree with this, but it feels simple. It's just like you wear a suit. Like he agrees it's simple. Like it feels like it always stressed me out a lot more because it didn't feel like there's as clear guidelines of like what, like I remember being so stressed in one of my internships during college about whether or not I was allowed to not wear tights underneath a dress. And I remember going back and forth being like, okay, are the older women at my company going to think that I'm not dressing professionally because I'm wearing a dress without tights? And because that's like a norm. Like it is. It's so weird.
Yeah. It was also weird, the transition. I feel like for a long time it was like professional dress, if you're a woman, is like a pencil skirt and a blazer top or whatever. But then all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, never wear a skirt to work. You have to wear slacks or work pants because otherwise you're an SLUT. And then it was like, okay, actually you can't wear all that much makeup because it was just like, there's so many rules that are so constricting. And then it's like, okay, these rules are there. Awesome. What if you're living between the gender binary? What do you wear to work? Like, what is professional then? It's
what if you sweat a lot?
Hey,
polyester might not be the best thing.
Yeah, I'm excited because I know that my work attire is going to be cargo pants and a t-shirt.
It's honestly the Trader Joe's employees, they have good style.
Yeah, they do.
The most relaxed work attire though that I've ever had at a job. Well, I guess not a fitness job, but you know.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever go to a job where I needed to look like super nice every day. I would be too exhausted.
It's funny because that does feel like the vibe of tech in San Francisco. It's very fancy. Not everyone, for sure. but
Wanna say
fancy.
hi to the pod?
Oh my gosh. What are you doing, Mom? Oh, what the heck is that?
I actually didn't consent to be on camera.
Wow, what a
Mitch,
cute little
do
baby.
you want to add anything to the podcast?
Oh,
He almost did.
he knows what that means.
You guys can keep talking. I'm just gonna hold him for a second.
Cal said, I'm going to take a break. You guys can keep it running.
Okay, he's off.
Oh, bye, Fitzy.
He wants to go back to dad.
What was I gonna say? I don't know.
Are we done with this topic?
Can we listen to McKenna sing now?
Yeah, that was my segue.
Yeah.
Subtle, very subtle. Yeah, smooth and subtle.
Thanks.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I think I have to read it on my computer, so I'm going to have to hide your face for a second, Mel.
I think that's acceptable.
Speaking of sweating, it just made me sweat. So
What made you? Oh, just thinking
saying
about
the word
it.
sweating. Guys, literally, do you see this?
Yeah. Am I making you nervous?
Yeah, I have a crush on you. Don't look at me.
Ryan just realized that JoJo Siwa was queer in this last episode of Special Forces. All of the
What?
commentary that we had talked about when we watched it, so over his head. Yeah. He was like,
We
"Oh, is that
said
why Lara was
so-
so into her?" And I was like,
We said no. We said so many
Yeah.
comments about how gay she was.
Yeah.
And how so many comments.
he didn't get any of that.
Wow.
If I could have a man's brain for one day.
I'd finally be at peace.
Whew. Wow. Okay. Well, what's next?
You're reading,
You're reading your
thing.
thing.
Okay.
You're getting it up.
Okay. Oh man,
Sorry if I'm stinky.
you're not stinky at all. Okay.
Can we get some context?
Not really any context. I just sat down yesterday and wrote this in really fast, less than an hour. And so it's probably going to have some edits, but
Is
I
this
don't know.
going to go on the Substack?
Yeah, it really needs to.
It needs to
Okay.
go everywhere.
I think I'm going to post it. I'm going to start being a little more brave and share some writing because I feel like I've just been in this cycle of like I talked about on the pod a while ago of feeling that urgency and of just go, 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 go. And then simultaneously feeling paralyzed to do anything, which I don't know if you can visualize that, but it's really not a great combo. And I think that in order to help that a little bit, I just need to take baby action steps. And part of that is writing, and part of that is going to be sharing the writing. Not always, but I think it needs to happen. And I think I need a loving little push from some of my friends.
Wow, called
Because-
out.
No, that wasn't an ask. Also, Mal, your newsletter this week was really good.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a
Are
lot
we
of really
ready?
nice messages about it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't have a title, so I'm just going to start reading it.
Untitled by McKenna
Untitled.
Sherwood.
Yep. Maybe I should have a pen name, and that's how I'll publish things. Anonymous, to be determined. It would have to be a really cool pen name if I was going to do that. Anyways, are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I actually, before I start, sorry, I promise.
Do you want me to sit out of frame?
Yeah, maybe just for not out of frame. No, I don't. I want you in the picture.
This is way worse.
No. Oh yeah. Come back.
No, this is good.
So I just have to name that reading my writing, I'm most scared to read it to Mallory.
Really?
Out of everyone all the time that I share writing with, I'm always most scared to tell Mallory, no, this is a good thing. It's a compliment. Come back. Thank you. It's really just because Mal's just such a phenomenal writer, and we have different styles of writing, but I always just worry. I always just feel like I need your validation specifically. And it's really just because I think that you're like one of the best writers ever. And I feel like I'm like Mallory's like my mom, and I'm just like a little like toddler that's like wandering behind her being like,
I need to show you something.
yeah.
Can you watch me do something, Mom?
Yeah. No, literally, that's exactly how I feel. So this isn't to say that you have to give me verbal validation whatsoever. I'm just saying, no, you don't. You really don't. I'm just saying that I think I get more like I'm more nervous for Mal to hear right now than for the entire podcast to hear right now.
Well, thank you for sharing that. But I think you acknowledge what the most important part is that like everyone writes differently, and there's no like standard of like what it needs to be like. If it's your writing, then it's perfect.
Yeah, see, like I hear you saying that, and then in my head I'm like, I'm not good enough.
Okay. Well, I mean,
this is my issue. I want to be clear about
we'll
that.
work through it.
She's taking some pics.
Sorry, I just forgot. I'm trying to document my ephemerals, but that's different. Different topic.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Something cool happened today. I asked myself a question, something I was surprised to hear myself say. Do I trust him to take care of me? And the answer was no. Shocking but true. It's been a long time since I've let a man that I trust into my room. You can be sad for me, but don't let it linger. It's easy to do this. It just takes a swipe of a finger. Do not forget that he is just a mirror for me. They only come as far as I allow, and my guard has never been down. So back to the question, do I trust him to take care of me? Would he stay when I'm grumpy, make me soup when I'm sick, draw a bath when I'm sad, tease me every chance he can? The answer, I'm afraid, is no. Let that sink in. Keeping 30-year-old boys around who aren't even close to being men. Now, for my part, I never asked myself this question. Why would I be worthy of love, time, and affection? For that, it would take hours for me to explain why it's taken me so long to not be afraid of the pain. I can hide behind what I know they want. I play the part so well. I'm a good flirt and a good fuck, and I know exactly who to be to make them feel like they're being intimate with me. The thing is, I'm tired of pretending to be a shell of the woman I am simply to temporarily please a man. And I'm angry that even the ones that seem better than some turn out to want the same thing. I'll give you a hint. It's not the American dream. I remember one time someone told me this line when I was maybe my most broken inside. They said, and I quote, "You look like you know how to love." Hearing that, something inside me broke. Deep inside myself, I know that I do. I see it every day with my friends and my crew. For some reason, though, it stops with men. Maybe because they say I'm too weird, too thoughtful, too anxious, too scared, too much, too little, too strange, too sensitive, too sexual, too smart, too witchy, too curvy, too thin. There's never a way to win. I miss loving with my full self, not holding back, giggling while small kisses are planted on my back. I hope one day I will feel safe enough to feel completely myself, not even a hint of hiding that I'm the real deal. That's all.
And I'm speechless. I know you said you need verbal affirmation, but I'm really struggling. That was so beautiful.
Oh,
No.
you don't have to hide your words. You're allowed to
No,
share.
I'm not trying to hide them. I just mean that was incredible. Like, I don't even know how I could like say how I feel, you know? I think that
Okay.
was incredible.
Thank you.
I'm like, I want the whole world to read that.
I know.
Because I also think it's relatable in a lot of ways. Like, I think you're not the only one who feels like that.
Mm-mm.
No.
Like, there was a lot of moments where I was like, yes, yes. So, yeah, like it was like inspirational, emotional, intimate, kind. It was perfect.
Yeah.
So,
Bella said that it like encapsulated. Actually, I don't know if she said that or she like I think maybe she said this, but I think it just encapsulates so well the feeling of being like, I'm trying to date. I know that I have so much to give and so much value to myself, but it's like finding someone that's worthy of like getting to see that is really kind of hard.
Ken, that whole time, and maybe this is my intuitive reading of you, I saw a poetry book that entire time you were reading that in my head.
Okay.
No, like I'm actually not kidding. Like the whole
Not
time I
opposed.
just kept, it was like I could visualize like the pages turning.
I've told you so many times, and the podcast knows you're my intuitive guide.
Yeah. And so I'm just saying, don't rule that out.
I won't.
No,
Because I
it's
think the
definitely
limiting beliefs
then.
around you not being a poet, like I don't, just because there's not, you haven't had a lot of good poetry doesn't mean you can't be the good poet.
True. I think that this is a larger conversation and issue within myself of like all of my friends. I'm like, your creativity is the best thing to ever have blessed this earth. Like, I do not understand why there aren't billboards in New York, like showing in Times Square, showing how great you are. Like, truly, that is how I feel at my core. And then the second I write something, I told Laura this, I wrote this last night. I was obsessed with it for like an hour. And then after that hour passed, I was like, this is the shittiest piece of writing I've ever done in my entire life. No way that I can share it. And I have a lot of things that are just kind of like I've written and I've never shared that just sit right there in my journal and they never leave.
That's what we are here for.
I'm honestly so excited. I'm like overwhelmed with excitement about other people getting to read these.
Yeah. That's literally what friends are for, though, is to get that silly reality out of your brain and bring you back to real reality, which is definitely a book, definitely you writing way more, which also like it's so amazing and significant that like this came out of you because when we first moved to Boulder and before then, like writing was like spilling out of you, but you have been
shut down,
like a dry since. So like this is so cool that it's starting up again.
Yeah. And that's just because I was too tired I was like a robot for so long. Just like I go to work and then I eat and then I sleep and then I go to work and then I walk Douglas and I eat and then I sleep. And so I think that it is telling that there's like when there's more space, more creativity comes in. And I'm just doing my best to remind myself that like to not shame myself for that time where like my creativity just was hitting a wall, because it's not like it didn't exist in me. Like there would be times where I felt that bubble up and it like comes up and it's like it needs to get out of my body, but I was so busy that I just had to stuff it back down. And so I do want to celebrate that me allowing it to come out right now is huge and it's a good first step.
Yeah.
And I do think that even though I have so much like imposter syndrome, I guess, on like sharing and I don't know, doing all that, I do think the one thing I do very well and across my work, like giving readings or doing this or whatever, writing, is that I think I'm able to take human feelings and human experiences and like make you feel the emotion of that experience. And I think above all, I wish I could just describe that. Like, I think that's like the primary pillar of my work.
Oh yeah.
I honestly think you should write about the thing you were just talking about like your dry spell where you had to push everything down, because I think that would make a great piece of writing too.
Yeah. I also think I need to be comfortable of like, this might not always be the medium that it comes out. Like it could come out in a longer form piece. And I told Laura the other thing that I'm or a dance. Let's not get too far out there.
But don't cut yourself off.
Yeah, I won't. I'll stay wide open. But I told Laura one of the biggest things is I am just so insecure about grammar. Like I think that I can convey messages where it's like it might not be perfect grammar, but you're not gonna misunderstand what I'm trying to say. Do you know what I mean? So it's not to that point, but I do feel like because part of this was Spanish immersion stuff, I think just like having two different languages that I was learning the grammar of. I don't know if anyone else struggled with that, but
I literally girl, I
speechless.
I'm so like it. I'm trying to say that I struggle heavily with grammar because of that. And you know that I also struggle heavily with spelling because of our education.
Yeah. And I wouldn't take it back because it's, I think, foundational to us. But I've always just been insecure about that. And in like high school, I would write like really beautiful pieces of writing that the content was really, really good, but I always get like shit marks on my grammar. And it just like always, I think, just defeated me because I never was good at math. I never was good at like, I was good at science, bad at math, but I was really good at English. And I feel like because I don't know, didn't get like perfect marks there, I'm insecure about it. Anyways, we can move on from my deepest insecurities.
That is kind of the nice thing about poetry style writing, though, is like I feel like there's a lot less pressure on so much perfection in the grammar. Like even in my type of writing, like I feel like the stream of consciousness writing, I don't stress that much about if my commas are in the right place, or, I do one of my like, I can feel my like go-to like sentence structures is like verb period, verb period, verb period instead. And I know that's not a real phrase. like I know that's not grammatical, but that also is how I think that is still a compelling way to make a point. So I would just say, like, I think some of the greatest writers of all time were people who played with grammar.
Yeah, true. Or who maybe it's like doesn't even have like if grammar is going to be the thing that stops me, like that's silly. No. But even you saying sentence structure, I was like,
no, I was triggered by you saying by you using grammar talk to me right then.
Sorry, my stepdad was a journalist, so I actually feel like I'm the opposite, where like I know too much and I would overthink everything, but I have to let it go.
You got to let it go.
Yeah. And that's what friends are for, on different ends of the spectrum. Yeah. Wow.
Scary.
Okay, Mal, do you have any updates for us?
Can I be super vulnerable for a second?
Oh my God, yeah.
No.
I've been honestly procrastinating talking about this because it's kind of embarrassing, but like I've been feeling a lot of stuff about not posting on my story about Israel and Palestine.
I'm so happy you brought this up because I wanted to talk about it and I was too fucking scared.
That's been our whole household conversation recently.
Well, I had like 3 different conversations today with like coworkers about it, and I feel like it empowered me to talk about it with you guys, because it's not like I felt like you wouldn't want to talk about it or anything, but it's like very scary. I think the concept of like other people hearing this and having opinions, because I know that there are a lot of opinions, and I feel like I'm in this like guilt, embarrassment, shame cycle constantly every time I open social media, where I'm like, I'm a bad person. Like only bad people wouldn't post on their stories about this. And then I do the processing of like, okay, why do you feel that way? But then I see someone else's story that is like, you're a bad person if you haven't posted about this. And then
some of them are
like,
pretty clear at telling you that.
Some of them are about as explicit as you possibly could be. And I can't tell if I'm like justifying my behavior to make me feel better, or if I genuinely don't think it's that important to post on my story. I feel like I go back and forth, and then I just get nauseous and I have to like abort the situation. So anyway, I'm just like, I've been feeling a lot recently about that, and almost at this point where I'm like, I feel like if I post now, it's just performatively. Like it would just be to show that I am an ally. And maybe that is a good enough reason for me to do it, but it still doesn't feel good to me.
Now, the way that we're together on this, the way that I don't know, you just explained my entire experience in the last like 48 hours. And I think that it's important that we talk about it.
I will say the reason that I brought this up is because someone mentioned to me that they listened to our podcast on the Israel Palestine stuff, and that they really liked our perspective on it. And I was like, what perspective? I feel like we really just like did, that like 15-minute summary, but it made me think like, I feel like I need to share that I'm not comfortable with anything right now, that I feel very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like, it's such a widely felt thing right now.
Yeah. I feel like I've been having a lot of existential crises that I've lost my activism as I've gotten older. And I don't think I have, but I'm feeling so much, and I feel disgusting saying this, but I feel like not even more like apathy, but just like less desire to like put my voice out there all of the time. And I don't know why it is, but it feels different than it did when I was like 20 and like protesting in front of the Supreme Court. I don't know. I just feel different now.
I think that I don't want to take away that observation from you, but I also think we're living in an entirely different world.
Yeah. No, I think that's true.
And that is a factor. And I'm feeling a little uncomfortable with like letting my thoughts just kind of go here, because I'm feeling like I need a perfectly crafted narrative around this. And the only thing that I can perfectly craft is like how disgusting I think it is that there is such a clear disconnect between what the people want and what the people in power are doing and continuing to support Israel and like support a genocide. And I think that that's like the clearest I can get on a stance. But then I think that the next layer is like, how do we then communicate to others what that stance is as white people, as like people on social media who are seeing a lot of propaganda. Like there's just like layer upon layer upon layer, and nothing feels adequate. No infographic feels adequate enough to convey like the rage and the sadness and the grief that I felt in my body. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then I think that is the layer of like performative it comes in, where it's like, well, is me like, is my voice even, should it even be part of the conversation? I don't know. Is me doing, contacting your reps, like what we talked about last week in terms of financial decisions, all of the talking to people in my immediate circle, like, are those things enough, or do none of those things matter because I'm not saying one thing on social media, you know?
Sorry, Fitz is like walking all around the apartment, buddy.
It's okay.
No, I very much feel that. I feel like the only reprieve I've gotten in the last like 2 weeks has been listening to the Ezra Klein show because I think it's much easier for me to like intellectualize all of this than to like sit in the feelings. And if I listen to the Ezra Klein show, he's like just so nuanced in it, which I appreciate. But yeah, I just on social media, I just feel like everything is so, you believe it, and if you don't believe it, you're the worst person on the planet. And I guess I am appreciating with like his podcast that he has a stance on it that I agree with, but that it's like he provides the context. And it's like every time I say that, I'm like, but then I see these social media graphics that are like, why do you need context for a genocide? Which I hear ya. Like I hear that, but it just, there are more layers than that. Like there are. It's tough.
Yeah. I feel like how my brain has been trying to come at it is that like like what things can I try and do, obviously, that aren't just like I feel like I have shared a few things on social media, but I think it's more of like because some people who follow me have been going the full opposite direction, like very, very, very like pro Israel, pro the attack, all of that. Like, I think that I felt it was a little bit important for me to be like, look at the whole thing. Like, this is kind of, I don't know. And maybe that's like not important to be like, hey, this is my standpoint. Like, as a person who you used to have in your life, like, this is my opinion. But I feel like that was my reasoning on initially posting stuff. But I think that now at this point in everything, like, I would honestly rather no longer look at the socials or talk about the socials. I would rather find a protest that McKenna and I can go to where we hopefully don't get arrested and like make our presence known there, or keep like leaving messages for my reps, like those kinds of things, you know, not supporting the people and the, as you were saying, financially not supporting things that I don't believe in as much as we can, because as everyone knows, like, all of your tax dollars are going towards something. So I don't know. And I think it's like kind of high alert at the moment in San Francisco because everyone is here, like Biden, Obama, a bunch of high brass people are in San Francisco. So for that reason, like, the few protests that we have seen have had like so much police presence
and arrests, a lot of arrests.
And it's like, obviously that is part of, like, you know, they're getting arrested for disturbing the peace because they are disturbing the peace. Like, the peace has to be disturbed almost. But it's also like, I would love to march in a protest and hopefully not get arrested. But maybe that's my privilege as being a person who is trying to have that choice.
It is privilege. And Laura and I talked about yesterday, like, what is the line where we would be willing to lose our jobs? What is like over standing up for something that we believe in? Like, where does that live?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when we look at situations like this, especially in the United States, it's treated as that is other, that is something outside of my reality that I don't like, almost as though like people don't think that something similar or like that could ever happen to them who are living in a white abled bodies. Like, I truly believe that that is like felt, and maybe to some level that's true, but I feel like every time that there's a disgrace like this on humanity, it's like this reaches everyone. There are no, like, not to be so cliche, but like there are no borders in that respect, and you are sometimes only one decision away from being the people that could be affected by something else, right? Like, so anytime something like this happens, I think if we center humanity and move from that place, like, I don't understand how you couldn't come to the conclusion that what is happening is like so completely atrocious and horrific, right? But at the same time, like, if we go to a protest and we're arrested, like, no one's coming to get Douglas. Like, no one, like, we're not going to be able to afford to buy groceries next week. Like, it could affect careers. It could affect all these things. So it's kind of like watching these people who are on the front lines and having so much awe and respect for them. And then also feeling like deep shame within myself that I'm not willing to give everything up to stand for what I believe in. Yeah.
I literally have nothing to add. I feel like that was everything in my brain that you just said.
Yeah, it's so much. And also, like, unfortunately and fortunately, our lives continue when this tragedy is happening. And I think that there are different levels of being sensitive to that on social media, right? Like, especially when it comes to the targeted brands that we're boycotting and all of those sorts of things. I think that there are different levels of responsibility that need to be had on social media. But I do struggle with, like, does everything other than content about what I believe in this issue need to stop? Right? Like what even is my stance on that? How am I going to handle that? Or even today, like today's the day they like protesters shut down the Bay Bridge, which is absolutely unreal and like so impactful, and watching that just like gave me the biggest chills of all time. And like, but even like Laura reposted something to her story, and I feel like my inner monologue was immediately like, well, Laura beat you to it. Now if you repost, you're just gonna look like you're trying to like be as like like aware as Laura is, like, and that's so silly, but like literally like our brains have created this scary place where that is a thought process, and it's a distraction to what is actually important. And what's actually important is to free Palestine.
Yeah.
Douglas just started chirping, so he agrees. He can hear my heart rate going up.
Yeah, he's like, Mama, whatever Mama says. Yeah, no, I totally relate to that feeling, because I've in a similar sense, like I feel like when things were first getting going, I was like, oh shit, like one is that I just feel like some privileged little white girl who gets to go to Amsterdam while all of this is going down. So obviously I'm not posting anything from my trip. But then also I'm seeing graphics that friends are posting and saying, oh, fuck, I can't repost those now because they reposted them. So now I have to find even better graphics to really show my stance and my opinion.
Oh, have you seen this infographic?
Have you seen this? Actually, it just came out 2 minutes ago, so I hope not. And I hope that all the info is correct and there's no misinformation. And, you know, it's just like, it's a fucking mess. And you're right. It's such a distraction. Like, a distraction from what is actually helpful, which I honestly think is getting our butts to a protest. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Something that I think has been really helpful for me in this time is being in the class that I'm in right now, because even though our stance on this is simple and, you know, in some ways, I think it's taught me a lot about being able to hold space for a lot of different things at the same time, which is really difficult to do. And a lot of times we aren't given the tools to be able to hold so much at once. And being able to hear someone maybe who is acting out of fear on like maybe the other side, let's say, so to speak, in this like situation, being able to not respond to that with just like immediate anger. And maybe I do that in private sometimes, but like in like conversation and dialogue with other people, like that is when everyone loses. If we forget who we are, we forget our shared humanity, and we attack and we condemn and we cancel all of those things. And I think that's like the scary place to be, because it takes an enormous level of self-awareness to hold multiple things at once. It's really, really difficult. And something that I think is important too to share is this week we had one of like the most amazing educators we have in our course. Her name is Stacy Hines, and she talked to this. It wasn't like specifically in regards to Palestine, but she was talking about like healing, like collective healing, and how the narrative of like, if we all individually heal, we'll systemically heal. And then on the flip side, if we systemically heal, we can all individually heal, and how neither one of those are true. And neither one are like the model that we can go for. It has to be somewhere in the middle. And I keep coming back to that because we like to simplify those things in our head, right? Like if people could understand empathy, or if people could disengage themselves from like thought, I don't know, like these like really thought parties, I guess is what I'm kind of going to say, like these camps that we're putting ourselves in as people and categorizing ourselves, like if people could disengage from that, remember their humanity, world peace would happen, and vice versa. Like if, I don't know, if we could heal those systems, then people would realize that this is how they can heal. And reality is one of the most complicated things I think that we can approach.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we are watching this play out on a world stage for the first time ever. And I hope and pray that because we are able to bear witness to these horrors and we can listen to firsthand accounts in this way, that there will be some sort of change in the future. And I feel like that's the only like glimmer of hope that I can cling on to, because you can't take back someone's life. And that's like the reality of sitting with like the number of people who have lost their lives, lost their entire lineage, lost everything, is almost unbearable. And even saying that is like not even really fair, because we're not even living it. We're just seeing it. Sorry, I just really took that and ran. So
No,
I think
I
it's
apologize about that.
I think that's, yeah, very eloquent. And I think then it's like also hard because it's not the only global crisis that is going on right now.
Right.
Like Ukraine is still invaded by Russia. Like Sudan is in the middle of like, you know, crisis. Like it's just like, it's not, there's so much to your kind of like course, like so much trauma happening around. And yeah, I think it's really, really hard to like accept all of that. And then, you know, to Lara, your point, like, and sit here in my 12th floor apartment and, you know, like have the life that I have, you know?
Yeah, it literally feels like we're living in a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I feel like we should wrap up.
On that super light note.
Yeah.
Now, everyone, sweet dreams.
Yeah.
Beautiful nightmares.
No, I think, can I just end on like one thing that I think one of the worst things that can happen right now is to like sit for too long in the helplessness of the situation. Like, I think that there has to be some form of forward momentum, some form of hope, while truly also sitting with the grief, right? Like, there has to be both. And so I hope that people don't walk away from this and are like paralyzed for next steps, which I feel like that, but I think that's the only thing that keeps me going a little bit. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that in the past, Trader Joe's employees have kind of like, I remember there was like a nationwide Trader Joe's walkout at some point, and I'm like, I feel like it's the type of employee, it's like Ben and Jerry's. It's like where they would be like, yeah, do it. No one's fired. Like, absolutely. Make a stand, tell a message. So I wonder if that will happen. Or
I'll
if
be
it already has
curious.
happened. I don't
I'll
know.
be curious if that's like a perception we have about Trader Joe's, or if it like really feels like that being on the inside, you know?
I think so, because I talked about this stuff in my interview, and I feel like it got really well received.
Well, they hired you.
I think this is also a very interesting time where we're seeing previous like cut and dry parties and stuff be not so cut and dry, which I think is an added layer to like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The polarization is going a different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mal, thank you for being brave enough to call that into the conversation. No,
Yeah.
seriously, like I really appreciate it. And I'm sure that Lara's thankful that it's not just me like talking like this in our apartment 24/7, because that's all I've been doing is talking at Lara about this for like
I
2
talk
days.
bad.
No, she does, but like sometimes I just feel bad, like I just talk to Lara too much, you know?
No,
I need
not
to
at
work on
all. I feel like it's such a common feeling. Everyone is feeling this way.
No, I've talked to like 5 people today that are feeling the exact same way.
Yeah.
That was validating for me. And that's honestly why I brought it up, is because I was like, okay, clearly I'm not the only one who feels this way. So
No, not at all.
Yeah. Mal, do you think that you would have felt, and we can cut this out if you don't feel comfy answering it, but like, when you kind of approach this conversation, like, can I be vulnerable for a sec? Do you feel like you would have felt that level of vulnerability bringing up with like just us and normal phone call, or
No.
because it's just the pod?
Yeah, because it's the pod.
Yeah, talking about it and publicly. Yeah. It's hard stuff, you guys. Everyone, it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening.
Big hugs.
Big hugs to everyone.
Warm
And
hugs.
you, and everyone,
guys.
say congratulations to the newest San Francisco Trader Joe's employee, Laura Vanderbilt.
Laura.
And everyone say, I'm so grateful that Laura now has an employee discount.
Employee discount. What other perks do I have?
Cool clothes.
Cool clothes. Hopefully some cool friends.
You'll probably get to wear a box cutter on your cargo pants. That's hot.
They're gonna get me a box cutter. I had to say I'm right-handed because apparently they're handed.
Yeah, they are.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
I am a plumber. Ex plumber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Trader
okay,
Joe's employees are like a poor man's plumber, you know?
Excuse
Just
me.
kidding. You know? Okay. That was a joke. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
It did not land.
It didn't land, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
I'm gonna take my stand up and go to the room now.
We're gonna go walk Douglas before it gets too dark outside.
It's getting dark. Oh,
Okay. Love you guys.
Make sure
Bye.
that Fitz puts his wish list into Santa, and then Douglas as Santa's elf will
Mm-hmm.
do the work to get Fitz what he is wishing for Christmas.
Perfect. Okay. We'll definitely do that.
Okay, love you.
Bye.
I love you. Wow.